conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Roush. I am your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversation. Today's episode is just you and me hanging out, talking about common phrases that I personally avoid when selling. I wanted to share these with you today because recently in one of the monthly coaching sessions in the Sales Maven Society, this came up, and it was actually funny. My society members, those of you who are listening, you know who you were, inspired me to record this episode because we were talking about really common phrases that people use over and over and over again that I encourage people to get out of their language when they're selling. And these are phrases that you won't often see show up in the work that I do and anything that I write or anything that I put out. Now, you might hear me use them when I'm speaking. That's a little bit harder to get rid of because you don't have as much time to look at what you're saying and then pull it out of your language, although some of these you won't hear me say. And I wanted to share them with you today in case you are ready to stand out in the crowd and set yourself apart from how everyone else is speaking out there when they are writing copy for sales, when they are putting out emails, when they are posting on social media, all of the things that you do to attract your ideal clients. And these phrases, in my personal opinion, tend to be pretty repelling type phrases. So if you want to repel people, please keep using them. And if you want to sound a little bit different, and I think a lot of these, we'll see what you think, make you sound more credible. And I think it inspires authority and expertise when you speak and use the alternatives that I'm going to give you today. All right. So we're going to just jump right in to these. And the first one, I may have talked about some of these on the podcast before, so this may not be new to you. And if you've coached with me, especially if you're in the Sales Maven Society, you're going to be well aware of these. Although, because I do so many edits in the Sales Maven Society for the Sales Maven Society members, you may still be writing these. And you'll see every time I do an edit for the messages that you ask for feedback on, I pull these out of your phrases, out of your language, out of your written communication with potential clients. So the first one is the I promise statement. I can't remember if I actually recorded a podcast episode, but I know I wrote an article about this a while back. I was noticing that people were using this a lot, like, oh, do this. I promise it's going to work for you. Oh, sign up for this program. I promise you're going to love it. And I think I did talk about this on the podcast. I want to say that I think using I promise in that way makes you sound, for lack of a better way to phrase this, and I mean this with love, but I think it sounds immature. I think it's something young people say, like, do you promise? Yes, I promise. It's that, it feels a little immature. Now, if you're going to give a guarantee and you want to say my promise to you, and the guarantee is this, that's different. But using it as a way to convince people to do something, I don't think it's in your best interest. So instead, just stand in your place of credibility and authority and say whatever the statement is. This program is for you. You're going to enjoy it, and here's why. Or this program is going to benefit you in this way. Here's what you're going to get out of it. Instead of having to say, just do it. I promise you're going to love it. I think it sounds a little, juvenile. Those words seem harsh. I'm not trying to be harsh when I say these. Now, the other one is the I know statements. I know this about you. I know that about you. these are so polarizing. Now, I teach this a lot. I teach this in a lot of different ways. I have a whole section in the Language of Sales masterclass, and it's probably one of the more popular sections of all of my masterclass. That's the one that people refer back to over and over again, because it's a really common language to say, I know what you're thinking. I know what you want. I know what you know. And it's so polarizing to make I know statements to other people. It's essentially saying to somebody like, I know everything there is to know about you. And it's so off-putting because the other person's like, but you don't actually know me. We've never met. Or it's kind of offensive for you to tell me what you know about me, especially if you're not accurate. So you want to be really careful using I know statements. I try not to use I know statements. I would rather ask a question. Is this something you would agree with? Is this something you've heard? Is this something you might benefit from? Versus, I know you're going to want this. And I see I know statements everywhere. And because I do a lot of editing of my clients' messaging, especially when I'm in the Sales Maven Society and also with my private clients that show up, and I see they purchase email templates, they purchase, scripts from different sources. And then they're like, oh, I have this great, sequence with this, that I purchased. And then I read those, and I'm just going to say privately gag, but there's so many I know statements in there. Ugh. Get rid of I know statements. Stop telling people what you know about them. Ask them questions instead and encourage this conversation. And I know I have talked about this. Now, if I'm saying what I know about me or something I've done, that's different than saying what you know about another person. Be really careful with that one. I probably talked about this before. I know I teach this in one of my courses too. The should statements, like you should do this, or you need to do this, you've got to do this. It's all a lot of shoulding. My friend Vicki Legman used to say, and I think I might have shared this before, she always says, don't should on me and I won't should on you. I promise I'm not cursing. Should, SHOULD. Did I spell that wrong? SHOULD. Yeah. Should. Don't should on me. Be really careful telling people you should try this. You should do this. You should. It's very polarizing. It can turn people away. Instead, ask a question. Is this something you would be interested in? Is this something you've considered? Would you be open to some feedback? Ask questions instead of shoulding on people. Now, here's one that I don't know if I've talked about this one on the podcast before. I feel like I bang my head on the table every time I'm editing the stuff with clients that use a lot of can statements. And can it feels very, like not very sure of yourself. When you write a lot of your sales language saying can, like this can help you. This, maybe you might say, this program can help you in this way, or this service can, organize your home, or instead just say it will. Like really stand in your place of credibility and authority and talk about what it will do. I think that is going to give you a lot more credibility, expertise. You'll be seen as the authority when you talk about it that way, instead of, well, it could do this. It sounds like, I'm not really sure. Like, be really sure about what you offer. And if you're willing, go back and look at your sales copy. Look at the thing you want to sell the most of and see how many times you write the word can, and see if you actually need the word can. Most of your sentences, and I'm just going to say most of your sentences don't need a can statement. Now, all of these things that I'm offering you today in this particular episode, yes, you may have one example for me of where it's crucial or where you have to use that phrasing. Okay. And You don't need to use it over and over and over and over and over again. Every other phrase should not be, it can do this, it can do that. It's just not needed. Stay in credibility. Inspire like confidence from the other person when they want to buy from you. Stand in the place, talk about what it will do, how they will benefit. Okay. All right. I have a couple more here. Here's the next one, but. Oh my goodness, but. But is so commonly used in language. As a matter of fact, I hired a copywriter recently, and I had to say to her, I'm just going to say from the very get-go, like, I want to have a good relationship with you. Please do not send me back copy that has a lot of but statements, because I will ask you to change every single one of them. I personally don't like the word but. This comes from my background in NLP, but kind of negates everything you say before it. So if you're like, it's this, but it just like, you're great, you're awesome, you're amazing, but you need to change this about yourself. People will never remember all the things you said before. They're only going to pay attention to what you say after but. So I don't personally like it, especially in a sales conversation or any sales communication. I like to use and. You'll hear it from me. I recently listened to one of the ads that I recorded, and I really emphasized the word and. I hear this in my own language when I listen to myself back. It's because I hate the word but. I don't think it's needed in most copy. I don't think it's going to help you really get your message across in a confident way. Get rid of them. The last book that I put out, which was The Selling Staircase, I hired an amazing ghostwriter to take a bunch of content that I had written and put it in a book form. And the first rough draft that her team, she and her team came back to me with, it was filled with but statements. And I was like, where did you get this language? Because if you're compiling my words, my content, I'm concerned. Am I using but that often? And she was like, that's just how people write. I was like, no, that's not how I write. If you can show me examples that you've pulled from my work that have a bunch of but statements in them, I want to know. Please show me, because I want to go back and change that. And it turns out it was just really common pattern. I think we think about it. We have a lot of thoughts that use the word but. And when you can start using and instead, there's more freedom. I teach a question that you use. Well, I teach a question that you use in the discovery process, which is, what do you already know about my product or service? And then I teach, now, when you are using their answers to what they already know about your product and service, you reinforce the places where they're right. And then you say, and you add these other things on that you want them to know. So for instance, if I asked a client or a prospective client, what do you already know about my services and the way I work with clients? And they say, well, I know you offer strategy sessions. My friend had one and she was talking to me about it. And then she mentioned you have some kind of a group coaching program. I would then say, when appropriate in the conversation, you're right. I do work with clients in strategy sessions, and I do have a coaching program, and I can share more about that. And I also teach masterclasses. So when you do this, people are more inclined to want to agree with what you're going to say next, or want to know more about what you say next when you say you're right. And so it's a really powerful sales strategy to use. And it works in your copy too. It works when you're speaking. If I said, you're right, I do have strategy sessions and I have, a group coaching program, but it's just not as, I don't know, it just sounds, again, it negates what you say before and it kind of minimizes it. And is that really the message that you want to send? So get rid of the buts. You probably don't need them. Here's one more example I'm going to use around the but. So I wrote this phrase out because I think this is super common. So this is sales copy. So you'll be shown how to do X, Y, Z, but it's up to you to put it into action. Instead, if you say, you'll be shown how to do X, Y, Z, and it's up to you to put it into action, I just think that sounds more positive. What do you think? Now, if you're a huge fan of the but, I want to hear from you. Are you willing to share? I will be so open to your opinion about this. I'm giving you my opinion and I'm sharing my knowledge when it comes to how to move people into action and get their brain like going in a direction. But it's like putting up this like, stop. And I don't think you want to do that in sales conversations. All right. The last one that I'm going to comment on, and then we're going to wrap up this episode, is the word help. I'm not sure if I've talked about this on the podcast episode. The Sales Maven Society members hear this from me. I'm going to say every other live coaching session, probably. And definitely once a month inside the group, especially when I'm offering edits. So we do 2 live coaching sessions every single month. So that says, again, I'm speaking about this over and over and over again. I think the word help is way, way, way overused. And you sound like everybody else when you say, I help people do X, Y, and Z when you're talking about what you're doing. I teach my clients to say, clients hire me to learn how to, or clients hire me to show them how to, or clients work with me to do X, Y, and Z versus help. And there's just so many times that people are using the word help out there. Again, I see this a lot because I spend a lot of time with people's messaging, and it's just help after help after help. And sometimes help kind of implies that the person that needs help, there's nothing wrong with asking for help or needing help, right? We know that. We hear that. Although, think about this. Has anybody ever said, well, first, actually, let me rephrase this. Have you ever said to anybody, it's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help? My guess is you have probably said that before. My guess is also that somebody has had to say to you, it's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help. And you've thought to yourself, it's okay for other people, not me. Have you ever thought that? I know I struggle with this. It can be hard to ask for help. It can be hard to accept help. So when somebody is in need of your services, do you want to put them in that uncomfortable place of having to acknowledge that they need help? When for most of us, it's a very hard thing to embrace. So, do you need to use help so much? Probably not. What could you say instead? I like to think, again, clients hire me instead of like, this program will help you do X, Y, and Z. This program shows you how to, or you'll confidently approach your sales conversation and close more deals as a result of this program versus this program will help you do X, Y, and Z. Get playful with these. If there's one on here that you're so committed to, then, stick with your convictions. And if there's one on here that you're willing, on this list that I've given you today, that you're willing to take a look at and go, could I rephrase some of this language? Am I overusing this in my marketing, in my communication, in my emails, in my newsletters, in all of the content that I'm putting out into the marketplace, in my conversations with prospective clients? And do something different. Try something different. If you're struggling to rephrase something, reach out to me, tag me on social media. And if you have, a phrase and you're like, what would you say instead here, Nikki? Ask me. I'm happy to answer. You can reach me on Instagram. I tend to hang out there, and on LinkedIn, hang out there. I'm on Facebook, but really only for the Sales Maven Society members. So it's probably harder to get me to offer you some feedback on that. So that is what I have to share with you today. I hope this will give you some new ways to look at things and inspire you to really think about your communication, because it all counts. What you say counts. How you phrase things matters. Are you going to attract your ideal clients, or are you repelling people away? And do you sound like everybody else in the market, or do you stand out because you phrase things a little bit differently? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm super grateful. It's really inspiring to hear from those of you who are listening to the podcast, the things that you enjoy the most, your biggest takeaways, the things that you put into action as a result, the results that you get from taking action. All of these things thrill me beyond belief. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet left a review for the podcast, would you be willing to take a couple minutes out of your very precious time today? Or I guess I should say, would you be willing to take a few precious moments out of your day and write a review for the podcast? It means the world. It helps other people find their way to the podcast and take a chance on listening. I would be so grateful. Thank you so much. And if you're ready to take some action in your business and would like some more support, one of the things I don't talk about often are ways to work with me, but I want to just take a moment and talk about that. I mentioned this before. I do have private coaching options available for clients that are looking for some more intense kind of attention and focus on their business. You're welcome to reach out to find out different ways that we can work together privately. Of course, there's the Sales Maven Society, which really is the most amazing group coaching program because of the members, because of the people who show up and participate and ask questions and offer solutions and resources to everybody in the group. And you can come hang out in the Sales Maven Society by going to salesmavensociety.com. There is a special link you'll see in the show notes where you can put in a coupon code. It's going to give you a great deal to come and join us for your first month. And then I mentioned that I teach masterclasses. I have some really exciting classes coming up in the next couple months. Would love to have you participate. If you have not participated in a masterclass before, be willing to dip your toe in the water. If there's a topic that interests you, come check them out. The feedback from the masterclasses is always phenomenal. People have time to work during those classes, so they actually implement and get results quickly, which is the point of teaching the deep dive on a particular topic. Would love to have you participate in that. All right. Thank you again for listening. If we haven't connected on social media, let's do that. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.